Hey gang, welcome back. Ricky T. Anthony, and we're training with PRYD. Today we are eating with PRYD, and I want to discuss eating, well, the ketogenic diet versus the Dolce diet and eating of whole food. Now, the ketogenic diet was made popular and famous by Mr. Atkins, known as the Atkins diet. The problem with his diet was there was lots of bad fat. You ate any meat you wanted, cooked any way you wanted, you know, all the grease, all the nasty, all the gunk and everything. So while it did help you lose weight, it wasn't too good for your heart and your arteries and everything else. There was too much bad fat involved, even though your body does need a little bit of those bad fats to help it function. But the ketogenic diet, as taught by Dave Palumbo, high protein, moderate fat, very, very low to no carbohydrates. Basically, the only carbohydrates that comes in during the course of the day are from vegetables, and preferably, depending on how fat you are and how fast we need to bring you down, would be green vegetables as opposed to red and yellow vegetables, which are higher in sugar. You try to eliminate as much sugar as possible, keep your blood sugar levels as low as possible, so your body then learns to use fat. And this is why you use a moderately high fat intake. Fat from fish oil, primrose oil, peanut oil, macadamia nut oil, olive oil, stuff like that. Those are healthy fats, and in moderation, a moderately high level in your diet, your body will learn to use those fats as fuel and also the fat on your body. And since there's no intake of carbohydrates or no intake of an abundance of carbohydrates, there's no insulin spike, where insulin is a fat storage hormone which will push all the excess sugar into fat storage, making you fat. So there's no insulin spike, thus no fat storage. So when you exercise, you burn fat. And your body learns to use stored fat as well as the fat that you ingest for energy. Now let's go to the, and you also eat your proteins are cleaner cuts of whatever protein, cleaner cuts, and instead of deep frying and all this other stuff, you would bake it, grill it, or something of the like, you know, lightly fried on a pan or something like that, you know, not deep fried or anything like that. So it gets rid of as much as it doesn't absorb a lot of bad oil. When you cook it, the best thing to cook it in is macadamia nut oil. It has a high burn point, so you don't burn away all the nutrients, and it doesn't stick to the pan. Macadamia nut oil, it's great, and I heard about that years ago, and Dave Palumbo has since popularized it, and trust me, it's good, it tastes great. I even put it on a tablespoon sometimes and just chug it. Now you have the Dolce diet. The Dolce diet, you can always YouTube or Google the Dolce diet, D-O-L-C-E. He's a nutritionist and trainer, and he works mostly in the MMA field, mixed martial arts, UFC, etc. But he also does bodybuilding and the average Joe. And what he espouses is what any nutritionist, diet coach, or anyone in that spectrum must adhere to. Real food before supplements and other things of the like. Now, he believes no powders, no shakes, no pills. I disagree for certain reasons, which I can clarify in another video. But the Dolce diet is basically real food. He wants you to eat all real food all the time, which every trainer would agree with. Eating real food, eating wholesome food, clean cuts of beef, chicken, lamb, fish, etc., for your protein sources. You can also have nuts, you can have grain, oatmeal for your fiber, fruits and vegetables for your fiber, and little, depending on if you want to go a ketogenic style, you go lesser on the rice, potatoes, pasta, or have none of it at all. Or you can do a low carb version where you have the rice, potatoes, and pasta, which is a little bit, you know, nothing too much. Or you can do the Dolce/ketogenic style where you eat all the clean cuts of meat. You introduce good fat via primrose, fish, olive oil, etc. And you only ingest vegetables for your carbohydrate intake, and also it'll help give you fiber. And since he says no powder shakes or anything like that, your source of fiber will probably come from oatmeal, raw oats, or porridge, cream of wheat, something like that. That can go through you, clean out your intestines, have you regular and functioning well. So those are the two diets that I like. There's another one, a diet by Dr. Sebi, which I'll touch on a different day. And I'll close with saying, what Dave Palumbo and the Ketogenic Diet has taught me was the use of positive partitioning foods. Positive partitioning foods are foods that help your body function optimally. All right? Bread, a lot of grain, a lot of useless carbohydrates are negative partitioning food. Neutral partitioning foods are something like fiber that your body doesn't really absorb and use as carbohydrate fuel. It'll just good sources of fiber will just run through you and clean you out, keep you healthy. And then, of course, the clean cuts of protein, fish, lamb, chicken, etc. So there you have it. Eat whole food, eat real food. And I know, look here, using supplements can be very expensive. Eating clean, real sources of food can also be very expensive. Eating healthy is very expensive anyway. They'd rather you eat all these burgers and fries and all this other stuff from these fast food joints that are killing you than eat real food. And the best sources of real food are if you eat wild caught fish, free range chicken, free range beef, and food of the like, rather than stuff that's raised on a farm where they're kept in pens and fed testosterone, all types of steroids and antibiotics and other chemicals to fatten them up and make them look big and healthy, when they're feeding them corn and cardboard. Yes, that's what they feed to some cows. But to all of those vegetarians that's saying, aha, see, I told you, they also grow grapefruit that's supposed to be like the size of your fist, that come out as big as a watermelon. What do you think is in those? What do you think is in the fruits that are grown with no seeds? And they like to call them whole food, organic food. How can an organic plant have no seeds? That's beyond me. But they sell you this and push that to you. But getting whole food sources, organic sources, and clean sources are much more expensive than if you buy at your local grocery or your local butcher or something like that. But look, we gotta eat to survive. But I just say make the healthiest choices within your budget that works for you. Whole food as clean as possible. Cook it as clean as possible. As little carbohydrates, starchy carbohydrates in your diet as possible. Fruits, vegetables, thumbs up. Oats, grain, oatmeal, stuff like that. Fiber sources, thumbs up. Ricky T. Anthony on Eating with Pride, Nutrition with Pride, PRYD. Pray run, you don't.